If my screen is visible.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So now in this course, we are trying to have this control of induction motor. And under this V by F, first of all, we are trying to understand different ways to control our converter, which means the pulse width modulation techniques. And here we have come across the space vector PWM, and we have seen how a vector can be realized using the active vectors and the zero vectors in that particular sector. So we have seen the equivalence with the sine triangle PWM, and then how we compute the dwell time for different vectors. And we have gone for some suitable cases, how we need to place the switchings and all. And then in overall complete hexagon, how the switching looks like. Then we have gone to generalize our sector where we need not say exactly which sector we are in, but we can tell the switching sequence or the vector sequence. And then according to sector, we can assign the switching states to different vectors in that generalized sector, and we can do our job. So this can be made in a very generic manner, and with the available microcontrollers, these things are very much easy to do. Then we have tried to understood the switching. So how switchings are taking place in sine triangle PWM and then the space vector PWM. Then what is the relation between the pulse number and our number of samples or the carrier frequency, all these things. So we have found that these are pretty much similar, but still what we have observed is that despite so much similarity, what we are finding is that in space vector PWM, we can realize more peak phase fundamental voltage compared to the sine triangle PWM for the same DC bus voltage given. So reason we figured out that the zero vectors in conventional space vector PWM are equally divided, whereas for sine triangle PWM, the zero vectors are not equally divided. So which is why we see that the DC bus utilization has some limitation for sine triangle PWM. So in order to make that equal, we have tried to add some common mode to the modulating signals so that we can make the conventional space vector PWM equivalent in sine triangle PWM. So this is some harmonic injected sine triangle PWM which will become the conventional space vector, or which will perform very similar to conventional space vector PWM. When I say perform, so 2-3 things we need to have in mind. One thing is DC bus utilization, and second is the current ripple performance. So we will find that after adding this common mode, what we have computed, the two PWMs perform very similar. So the modified modulating signal is not sinusoidal now. It is some different shape, and because the peak is dragged below the maximum value, so that's why we have more DC bus utilization over there. So this we have seen. Now further, we also try to understand few more things in the space vector PWM. Now, after getting all this basic idea about space vector PWM, so let us do some more things in this. Let's have little bit more involved space vector kind of thing, where we are not bound to have this sequence of 0127 or 7210. I mean, nobody has asked us to remain at that. This is only conventional way of doing this space vector PWM, which we have followed so far. So This is what the time intervals we have been following for different vectors in one sector. So let us see if we can do something more than just 0, 1 to 7 and 7 to 1, 0 and all that. So little bit going more involved into the space vector PWM. So as of now, what we are doing, we have a sector, let us say sector 1. So two active vectors are associated with this sector, plus minus minus, plus plus minus. So we have given some name or number to those vectors. And the zero vectors are there. So what we are doing, alternatively, we are applying this sequence 0, 1 to 7 and 7 to 1, 0. So if we just write a subcycle or sampling interval, something like this. So this is one sampling interval, let's say. So what we are doing, we are having this sequence like this. We have equally divided the zero vectors and the time given is tz by 2, tz by 2. And the time for the active vectors is t1 and t2. So one sequence is like this, 0, 1 to 7. Or we can have for the same ts, we can have the other option. So first we apply 7, then 2, then 1, then 0. So what we are keeping in mind that whenever we are going from one vector to another vector, so there is only one switching happening at any instant. We are not violating that. Only one switching at one instant. So here also minus minus minus, then plus minus minus, plus plus minus, plus plus plus. This is what we do. But there is no such requirement. It's only the conventional way. That's why I say conventional space vector PWM, that we are applying both zero vectors. But there is no such requirement that we need to apply both the zero vectors. Then only it can be realized. That is not true. We can have only one zero vector applied in one subcycle. So let us say this is our subcycle TS. And we say like, okay, because now we are not dependent on carrier or the modulating signals. We are not dependent on this. We can apply whatever vector we want through the microcontroller. We can give the command that, okay, now apply vector 1 or vector 2 or vector 7 or vector 0. No, these things we can command through the microcontroller. So we are not bound. We are free to apply whatever we want. So what we can say, why we need to apply two zero vectors? We can have only one zero vector. Let's say 0. This vector 0, we are applying for the entire tz duration. And then what we do? We apply the other active vectors. So the other active vectors are only giving the realization for any reference vector. Let's say Vs angle alpha. This is realized with 1 and 2. There is no contribution of zero vectors in the Vs. The zero vectors are there only to maintain a constant switching time or constant sampling time. So this Ts is maintained through these vectors, zero vectors. There is no contribution in Vs for the zero vectors. Only 1 and 2 or any two active vectors are sufficient. Now why two vectors are required? One vector itself can be sufficient if Vs is aligned along that. Let us say Vs is along this vector 1. Then our vector 1 will alone is sufficient to realize this vector. We need not apply this vector 2. So a zero vector and this active vector are sufficient. Similarly, if we have our vector aligned along this vector 2, so then we need not apply vector 1. Are you getting my point? What I'm trying to say?
Yes, sir.
If let us say this is the case vector angle 0 degree, which means there is no beta component. If alpha beta components we resolve for this particular vector, there will be only V alpha, no beta component. So, which means we need not apply any vector which gives us beta component. We can as well only have this vector 1 and get it done with another 0 vector or something. So maybe 0 and 1 are sufficient to do this job. We need not apply 2 or 7. Similarly, if the vector is along this vector 2, let's say this is Vs angle 60 degree. So then we need not apply this vector 1. We can apply vector 2, V2 angle 60 degree or VDC angle 60 degree, which is V2 vector. So this only if we apply for certain time, which means this is realized, and then the 0 vector 7. So 2 and 7 are sufficient to realize that. We need not go for vector 1 or vector 0. Getting my point? So here, whatever sampling rules we were learning in last class, that was for conventional space vector PWM. Now we are trying to go beyond that. We need not have sampling at 10 degree, 30 degree, 50 degree and so on. This is only when we are going for conventional space vector PWM. Now we are free to choose what sampling we want, what sequence we want. So one example I gave over here, let's say you for any given vector Vs alpha, you need not apply the other 0 vector. Only one 0 vector is sufficient to realize that. So these both together can give the alpha beta components of this. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Is everybody getting this point, what I'm trying to say? Any questions here?
So, sir, then how can every sample can be realized?
That's what. So what do you need to realize any sample? Let us say when you say Vs angle alpha, what it means, there is some alpha component plus some beta component, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Now, alpha and beta are two orthogonal components of any vector, which can be realized using any two vectors which are not necessarily orthogonal, but they should have some component along those axes. So let us say, when we say like all the sectors are similar, so we can generalize. Let's say we take sector 1. So we have plus minus minus and then plus plus minus. So these two are different vectors. I mean at different angles. One is at 0 degree, another is at 60 degree. So the 2 is having some component along this beta axis. And both are having some components along the alpha axis. Are you getting that?
Yes, sir.
So which means what? If you apply this 2 and 1 for certain duration, you can realize any amount of V alpha and V beta. And so the desired vector, the resultant of these two. Getting my point?
Right, sir. Yes, sir.
So 0 vectors are not actually contributing to the length or magnitude of the Vs vector. There is no contribution, it is at the origin. So whether you apply this or don't apply this, it doesn't matter. Why these are applied? To maintain a constant sampling time, to have a constant TS or the desired TS. If you wish to change TS, what you need to do? You need to change TZ. T1 and T2 are fixed. T1 and T2 are decided by Vs, what is needed to be realized. The remaining time you are spending, TZ, you are spending for having a constant TS. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
that is what I am saying. If let us say the 0 vector is only for having this duration TS maintained, why have two zero vectors? Why not have only one zero vector? Getting my point?
Yes, sir.
So there is no need for having two zero vectors. You can have that freedom to have only one zero vector. Now, similarly, we can have another sequence. Let us say 7, 2, 1. We need not apply 0. This is also fine. We can realize any vector with these three only. Understanding my point?
Yes, sir.
Everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Any confusion here? Why we are applying vector 1 and 2, or why we are applying 0 vector? Any confusion in this?
No, sir.
Correct?
Yes, sir.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, will then waveform will be symmetric?
Now this is another question. So symmetry is something we have not discussed so far for the space vector PWM, isn't it? Symmetry we have not discussed. So I will come back to this. This is a very good question. How are we maintaining symmetry if we are applying vectors like this? Now, let us see. So this I will come back to the symmetry point. So, but there is no problem right here. We can apply any vector as long as the two vectors are different in terms of angle. There is some angle between these two vectors which we are trying to have for realization of any vector Vs. And then the zero vector for maintaining the constant Ts. There is no confusion in this, right?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay. Then next step. Why do we have only active vector applied for once? We can have active vector applied twice. Similar to we are applying two zero vectors, we can apply any active vector twice in the same subcycle. What is the problem with that? So let's say we have this sampling time Ts. So let me bring that thing. The previous cycle what we are doing, that is 0, 1, 2. Now here what we can say, clear, right? This 0, 1, 2 we are having. Now what we say, instead of that, we know that we have to apply T1, T2 and Tz time periods for the active vectors and the zero vector. So why not have something like T1 by 2, Tz, T1 by 2 and then T2. So what we will do, sequence like 1, 0, 1, 2. Any problem in this?
No, sir.
Clear? No, there is no problem in this. Getting my point?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Similarly, we can have T2 by 2, Tz, T2 by 2, and then T1. So what we can have 2, 7, 2, 1. Only thing you have to ensure that when we are going from one state to another state, we must have only one switching. Only this condition you have to maintain. So what is happening here? We are applying this vector 1, then we are going to 0, then we are applying again vector 1 and then vector 2. So no problem. Here also we have plus plus minus, plus plus plus, plus plus minus, plus minus minus. No problem in this, right?
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So, but what is happening actually? This is what we need to understand. This is all our freedom, what we can do. But with this, what is happening? This is what you have to understand a little bit. Now with this sequence, which I have told earlier also, that when we have something like 0, 1, 2, 7 or 7, 2, seven, 2, 1, 0. What is happening? We are applying these states. Now see carefully. All the three phases are switching once. Here R, then Y, and then B. Are you seeing this point? Here B, Y, and then R. Each phase has switched once. Correct? Clear?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Hmm?
Yes, sir.
Whereas if we take a sequence, let us say 0, 1, 2 or 7, 2, 1, what will happen? Let us see. What is switching here? R. What is switching here? Y. There is no switching for B. What is switching here? B. What is switching here? Y. And no switching for R. Getting my point?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
What is this PWM where a particular phase is not switching? Sine triangle, we saw this, right? Bus clamping PWM. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So sine triangle PWM, what we were doing, the sinusoidal function or this modulating signal is there. This we are clamping for some amount of time to the maximum value. What is the meaning of that? When we are clamping this to maximum value means the value of R is plus VDC by 2 for this particular range. And then R means any phase, whichever phase we are clamping. And for the negative peak, it is minus VDC by 2, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
This is the meaning of clamping. Now you see here what is happening with B phase. It is clamped to minus VDC by 2, isn't it? Similarly here, what has happened to R? It is clamped to plus VDC by 2. Getting some similarity?
Yes, sir.
Any confusion in this? Any confusion?
No, sir.
Okay. So by not applying a particular zero vector, we are actually clamping one of the phases. Are you getting my point? So here what has happened when our B is clamped, which means our switching loss has reduced because B is not switching here in this sequence at all. And R is not switching here for this particular sequence. So some switching loss is reduced. Correct? Getting
Yes,
my
sir.
point or not? So what
Yes,
was
sir.
the purpose of bus clamping PWM? Why we were having bus clamping PWM? What was the purpose? Suggest any answers? Why did we have bus clamping PWM? Pooja, Rajesh, anybody?
Sir, switching losses, to reduce switching losses.
Yes. So everybody is clear at this point why we were having this bus clamping PWM?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So what we were doing when a sinusoidal modulating signal is there and we are having high frequency carrier, comparing this and generating the PWM, if this is within this range, with every subcycle or every transition, there is a switching happening for that particular phase, isn't it? So each phase is switching continuously. with every switching, there is some switching loss associated with that. To reduce switching loss, what we can do? We can reduce the number of switchings. Getting my point? Please open up. Say
Yes.
something.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Getting my point? So clamping means what? Let us say for this duration, if I forcefully, if I make my modulating signal like this, clamp to the maximum value 1. So this will not switch in this duration, this particular phase, R, Y or B, whatever, this will not switch in this particular phase, which means what? Some amount of switching I have avoided. So both symmetrically, if we are doing for the positive peak, we will do for the negative peak as well. So then what we will do? We will avoid some duration over which the switching will not happen. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So here we have learned about continuous clamp or 60-degree clamp and all these things. Someone remembers that?
एक्सक्यूज मी सर
Yes.
सर जब हम लोगों ने साइन पीडब्ल्यूएम किया था
Hmm.
ओवर मॉड्यूलेशन के केस में तो
Over modulation we have not done.
सर नहीं मतलब जब हम लोग की जो साइन मॉड्यूलेटिंग वेव की जो मैग्नीट्यूड है वो कैरियर वेव से ज़्यादा हो जा रही थी तो उस केस में क्लैंपिंग आ रहा था हाँ तो उसको हटाने के लिए हम लोगों ने थर्ड हार्मोनिक इंजेक्शन किया था कि मैक्सिमम पे पीक कम हो जाए तो वो हट गया उसके बाद फिर हम लोगों ने ये क्लैंपिंग का मेथड पढ़ा था तो सर वहाँ पे जो ड्रॉबैक आ रही थी फिर से हम लोग वही मतलब ड्रॉबैक को इंक्लूड कर रहे हैं तो फिर मतलब ऐसा क्यों मतलब
What is the benefit? Why we are doing this? This is a good question actually.
फिर वहाँ पे तो हम लोगों ने नहीं फिर
Hmm.
वहाँ पे हम लोगों ने तो नहीं बोला था कि स्विचिंग लॉसेज वगैरह कम हो रही है फिर यहाँ पे हम लोगों ने स्विचिंग लॉसेज फिर इंक्लूड कर रहे हैं
Very good.
तो फिर कैसे सर मतलब ये सब तो
Now,
कंफ्यूजिंग हो गया पूरा
yes, the fundamental question is what is the difference between overmodulation and clamping? This is the question, right?
यस सर
Now understand clearly. If this is your carrier limit, let's say plus minus 1 boundary. So within this your carrier is going up and down, and this is your modulating signal, let's say. Correct?
यस
The
सर
fundamental modulating signal. Now what we have said that the DC bus utilization. Now I am coming back to that thing again. For sine triangle PWM, how much it is?
V/2 into MR.
0.5 DC.
0.5 VDC. So here per phase basis we do. Whenever we talk about modulating signal and carrier, we do analysis on per phase basis. So here the utilization is VDC by 2, which means what? When our modulating signal touches this boundary, that is the maximum amount of fundamental component, because fundamental component VRO1 is proportional to your MR, isn't it? Is actually equal to MR into VDC by 2 or M sin omega t times of VDC by 2. So when this M becomes equal to 1, that is the maximum boundary, that is the maximum amount of fundamental component what we can have. So it does not mean if you increase, we will start getting some lesser amount of fundamental and all. The meaning is until this point, you have comparison with the carrier. So you are sure what you are sending in MR and what you are getting in the output. These two are related. The meaning is that as long as there is comparison. You are getting my point?
Yes, sir.
So if your fundamental itself is going like this, higher than the boundary, what will happen? There will be no comparison during this big time. So if there is no comparison, you cannot say that your MR and VRO are proportional. So this relation will no longer hold for this particular case. So this range is called overmodulation. Or you can say non-linear zone. This is the definition of non-linear. Your output is not proportional to your input. Are you getting my point?
Yes, sir.
Whereas this complete range within this boundary is called linear modulation zone. Linear modulation zone means this relationship is holding true. Whatever MR you inject, that same VRO1 or proportional VRO1 you will obtain. But if you cross this boundary, this will not be true. So that is where we say during this linear modulation zone or within this linear modulation zone, this is our limit. VDC by 2 is the maximum peak phase voltage what we can have. Now, to increase the utilization, what we said that we can inject some third harmonic in this. So third harmonic will be something like this. What it is doing? It is adding some negative component near the peak. So then peak is coming down. So our resultant wave is becoming like this. Now the peak is not near this boundary. So we can increase some more MR. So MR which was bound to 1, now it can be little more than 1. In fact, 15% more. So here this was the case for sine triangle PWM that MR has to be within this plus minus 1 boundary. Now for added third harmonic injected PWM, we can increase it little bit more because our peak has come. We are able to bring down our peak. Getting my point?
Yes, sir.
And because what we are adding this signal, let's say the new modulating signal is MR star, we have added to MR this M common mode or M3, which is actually some, let's say K times of M sine 3 omega t. This is kind of common mode for all the three modulating signals. So this does not reflect in your VRO. In VRN actually. So in VRN, you will not have any third harmonic because it will get cancelled in the line to line voltage. This is clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
So here what we are trying to do, we are trying to avoid over modulation. Still we are getting little bit more DC bus voltage. Now how much we can get? The utilization is, what is the value?
By root 3.
Yes.
VDC by root 3.
VDC by root 3.
This is our new utilization number, 0.577 times of VDC, which is 15% more than what we were getting previously. So without crossing this boundary, we have achieved this. So this is still we are maintaining the linear modulation. And we have obtained some 15% more utilization for the DC bus by injecting this third harmonic component in the modulating signal. This is clear to everybody?
Excuse me, sir. Sir, before injecting this third harmonic, at the peak, सर क्लैंपिंग तो हो जा रही है, मतलब उतनी देर तक तो क्लैंपिंग हो ही रही है वहाँ पे.
See, so far I have not said anything about clamping.
Okay.
So yeah, don't go into that as of now.
Okay.
This thing is clear or not?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Correct. Now, these all things are done without taking any care about what is happening to switching energy losses. All these things are done without thinking about this particular factor. Am I clear at this point?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So this is, we have made sure that this modulating signal is getting compared with the carrier at every point. There is no point, maybe just one where it is touching the boundary, only that point is missed out. So every other point is compared, and that is why we have switching loss at every instant, at every switching instant or at every crossing. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, the point is, when we are dealing with systems which are high power, so high power means we have high value of current and high value of maybe DC bus voltage. If we also talk about some medium voltage applications. So both the things are higher. Nominal value, let's say if you take 400 volts motor, your nominal value of sine triangle PWM DC bus voltage will come like 700 DC, 700 volts DC. But if you go for, let us say, some 2.2 kilovolt this motor, so your DC bus voltage requirement may go up to 3.2 kilovolt. So then this has increased significantly. And if your power level is also going higher, that means your current is also going higher. So we have seen that switching energy losses are actually proportional to your VDC and current. Is this clear to everyone?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Everyone
sir.
is clear at this point?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir,
Now
yes.
we cannot do anything to these two components. Can we reduce DC bus voltage requirement?
No,
So
sir.
if we have fixed our PWM technique, we cannot reduce this. We have to maintain that much DC bus voltage if we want to operate the system. If the power level is fixed, that means current is fixed. We can't do anything with this also. Then what is the other factor? So power is actually proportional to E switching into the switching frequency. Getting my point? We cannot change the energy loss in each switching, but we can reduce our switching frequency to control or to reduce the switching losses in the system. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Clear? Everyone?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Everyone getting my point?
Yes, sir.
Now you tell me, this is my boundary, and then I have modulating signal something like this. So what we have said, like our switching frequency is actually equal to our carrier frequency for sine triangle PWM, isn't it? This is true or not? Is this true?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
This is true because we know that at every point our carrier is crossing our modulating signal. There is not a single instance when this comparison is not happening. Now what I am saying, to reduce the switching loss and to reduce the switching frequency, average switching frequency, what we can do, let us say by some means I clamp my modulating signal to this point, to the maximum point for certain duration. Clamping, I am not crossing the boundary, I am not going into over modulation. I am only clamping this to the maximum value. Now what will happen for this duration? Will there be any switching?
No, sir.
No, sir.
So my average switching frequency will come down or not?
Yes, sir.
Average means if you take one fundamental cycle and
Yes,
how
sir,
many
it is come
switchings
down.
are happening in that. So by average, I mean that. Will it come down or not?
Yes, sir, it is come down.
Yes, sir, it is.
And then the switching loss will come down or not?
So losses will
Yes, sir.
reduce.
Yes, sir, it is.
This is
Less.
clear to everyone.
Yes, sir.
Now this bus clamping, this is called bus clamping because any phase is getting clamped to either positive DC bus or negative DC bus. That is why it is called bus clamping. Now this we are not doing by increasing our modulating signal beyond linear range. This we are not doing like that. What we are doing, we are again adding some common mode. Which common mode we are adding? So you decide whenever any phase is close to its peak, you just add the common mode, which is 1 minus that particular phase, let's say 1 minus MR, or that will be true in this duration, or for this duration this could be minus 1 plus MR. Getting my point?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So similarly, we can have other phases also, and different durations we can have for all the three phases where they will be getting clamped. So for different range, we can have different modulating signals. Is there any confusion in that?
No, sir.
No, sir.
So, and you go back and see the lecture also, there I have shown the common mode and the modulating signal, how it looks like. The common mode will somewhat look like this. For each 60-degree duration, this kind of cycle will come. So this is also some kind of third harmony. 60-degree cycle means the full cycle is 120 degree. So what it is, 120 is actually repeating 3 times within 360 degree. So this is a third harmonic kind of, but not just third harmonic sinusoidal. It may have third, 9th, 15th, etc. All those. So will all those appear in your VRN? Will those appear in VRN? Answers?
No, sir.
No,
sir.
These are all common mode.
No, sir.
So this will not appear in that. So you will have only the fundamental component. And the linearity is maintained. VRO1 is your still proportional to MR, what you are feeding. So this is without getting into overmodulation. We have clamp. Now the consequences of clamping, how your this modulating signal will look like, this will look like something like this. You go back and see in the lecture I have shown. So this is how it will look like. You have added this common mode to this modulating signal. So this is how you have reduced switching frequency, average switching frequency, average power loss in this during the switching. But what you have done, you are not comparing your carrier during this interval, which means what? There is no comparison or switching happening during this interval. So your current THD may go up because you are not switching. How switching this current THD is maintained or current ripple is minimized? You keep on switching continuously, isn't it? Getting my point?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
Yes,
For
sir.
example, when you do that VRN or this current ripple analysis, what you will find that this VRN is continuously changing. Something like this, or maybe if you take the error part, so it is changing continuously its position and sign and all that, and that is how your ripple is maintained. Getting my point? So if you remove the switchings, so what will happen? It will have little more ripple. So which means the peak to peak ripple may go higher. But that's all right. The target was to reduce the power loss and switching loss. So in that we are losing something. So this is what engineering is all about. Give and take. You cannot have all the things together. Understanding my point?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That is where
Yes,
we
sir.
need to do some kind of optimization. So how much reduction is good so that we do not compromise too much on the current ripple or current EHD part. Huh? So these are the things which we need to have while doing this clamping, and where to do the clamping. See, this we are doing clamping here, but if our current is having zero crossing here, so any positive or negative zero crossing here means when we are clamping our phase, actually our energy loss at that point is very, very small because current is close to zero crossing. So if that is the case, when our current is having zero crossing near this, so then this is of no use, this kind of clamping, 60-degree clamp. So what we need to do, we need to shift the clamp to some other duration, let's say in the 30-degree split clamp kind of mode. So you clamp for this 30-degree and then clamp for this 30-degree, and here you let it be normal. So no point in clamping here because current value is smaller. Understanding my point? This is your 60-degree continual clamp what we have seen. This is good when we have current in phase or high power factor current we have. That means the current is having very high value near this, and so we are clamping means we are not switching near the high values of current. But if the case is reversed, low power factor cases, when we have current zero crossing near that, then we need not go for this 60-degree continual clamp. We can go for 30-degree split clamp. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Any confusion in this?
No, sir.
No.
So
No, sir.
this all we are doing with some common mode addition. Our MR, the modulating signal, has not crossed the boundary. It has not gone into over modulation. So linearity is still maintained. We can tell exactly what our VRO1 is. But still we are able to reduce some switching frequency, or on an average some switching frequency is reduced and some power loss is reduced. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
So difference between over
Yes, sir.
modulation and clamping is clear?
Yes, sir.
Over modulation means simply we have lost the linearity. There is no definite relationship between the output and the input, the modulating signal and the fundamental component of the pole voltage. Whereas for clamping, we are deliberately doing that while maintaining the linearity also. Correct?
Yes, sir.
So now,
Yes, sir.
whatever we were doing with the modulating signal, adding the common mode and all, this we are doing through the sequence here. So instead of applying the general sequence, what we have is in the conventional space vector 0127 or 7210, where every phase is switching once. We can have only 012 or 721, where only two phases are switching now, either RY or BY. Understanding my point?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Clear, right? Up to this point?
Yes, sir.
Everyone?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Good. Now, when you ask that, okay, we have lot of sequences, but what to apply where and how to maintain symmetry? These are two important questions. Although we have freedom, we can apply anything anywhere, but where to apply and what to do while maintaining symmetry? Because in all our discussions, we have seen that symmetry is very important for having good waveform quality or good PWM. So this point is clear to everyone, right? Clear, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Now, let us have some understanding about what we can do where. Now we need to understand our hexagon in little more detail. What is happening to that, or what we are doing actually. So in this hexagon, or in this space vector, if you see, we have all these locations for different vectors. So R is positive on this axis, R is negative on the other side. Then we have this B positive, negative, and then Y positive, negative. And similarly, the vectors are also given. So we have plus, minus, minus, then plus, plus, minus, then minus, plus, minus, minus, plus, plus, and then we have minus, minus, plus, plus, minus, plus. This is clear. And we have zero vectors minus, 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 plus, plus, plus at the origin. So we have given some numbers also to these switching states. Now this is our reference point, the theta equal to 0 point. So from this theta equal to 0 point, if you try to see how the phases are distributed in this hexagon, you will find that for these three phases or these three vector states, the R is positive. Do you see that? Plus, minus, minus, plus, minus, minus, sorry, plus, plus, minus, plus, minus, minus, and plus, minus, plus. Getting my point? And for these three vectors, we have R negative. So minus, minus, minus for all three states. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So, and this should be. Why? Because here we are kind of, when we start from 0 up to 180, we are kind of in the positive half cycle of the R. And then we are in the negative half cycle of the R. So this are you able to see? So in positive half cycle, we have R positive. And in the negative half cycle, we have R negative. Similarly, you can have the positive negative cycles for other phases also. So let's say this is the Y. So this is kind of zero crossing for the R. R zero crossing. And then similarly, if you go perpendicular to Y, you will find on one side of Y, all these three vectors have positive Y. And on the other side, we have negative Y. So this is kind of zero crossing line for the Y. And this should be, this is the 120-degree line, middle of the sector. Correct? Answers?
Yes, sir.
And similarly, if you draw a line perpendicular to the B axis, that will be zero crossing for the B phase. So B is positive here and negative here, which means on the negative side, if you see, all three vectors will have minus B. B as negative. Here all three vectors will have B positive. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Are you able to see that?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Now,
Yes, sir.
if we can see that, then it is very easy to say which phase to clamp where. Now, for the 60-degree continual clamp, we have seen that the R is clamped between 60 degree to 120 degree. And similarly, this is R clamping. Similarly, Y will be clamped between what and what? So this is positive peak. There will be negative peak also. Let's say, let us write that also. So that will be 240 to 330, 300 in fact. So what will be corresponding Y? Any answers?
182 to 240.
180 to 240. So can you explain how?
Sir, after 120 degree from R phase we can do.
That is also correct. Or the Y peak is happening at 210 degree, so 60 degree around that peak. And what about this Y negative? Answers?
360 to 60.
360 to 60. That means 0 to 60. Correct? This is correct or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Now, the same thing we can see from the space vector plane also. The R is peaked at 90 degree. No, R peak is occurring here, or it is occurring here. These two. Now 30 degree around that, or 60 degree around that. So this is the zone where our R should be clamped. And this is where our R should be clamped. Getting my point? Similarly, B must be clamped here and here. During these two zones. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
And similarly, Y must be
Yes, sir.
clamped between these two intervals. Are you getting why?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Wherever this peak is occurring for any particular phase, 60 degree around that we are clamping. This is what is called as 60 degree clamp or continual clamp. This we do for high power factor applications, where the current and voltage are having kind of similar phase. So then our continual clamp works much better than any other clamp. So this is how we do the clamping. Now what vector sequence will work where, that we can see in the next class. And also the symmetry, how do we maintain that? So these two things and some more things like the current ripple and flux ripple analysis, and then we will close our space vector PWM. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
So
sir.
any questions if you have, you can quickly ask.